Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into your very own Husky Dash once again, where you can get all of the commentary you didn't know you needed. I'm Joseph Claypoole at 9 3/4, joined by at Nathan Mathisen, and today we're going to be discussing three key points throughout the episode. The first of which is being how would UW have performed in the conference-only schedule had it gone forward. Secondly, we're going to be talking about the hiring of our new OC, John Donovan. And lastly will be our second of the three episodes for our continuous segment called Pick of the Litter. Nathan, please take us away.
Yeah, so first we're just going to be talking about the schedule. And as anyone who's familiar with the Pac-12 knows, they're doing a 10 conference game only schedule. And it's supposed to start at the earliest January 1st. So last year, the Huskies were 8-5 overall, but they were only 4-5 in conference. So they didn't perform too well. Hopefully they can do much better this year. And starting off, you've got the first week against Stanford for your...
Yes. I see the first game against Stanford not being as high of a scoring game as your predictions went. I still had it pegged as a dub for us, dropping the 20-13 score that you gave me to a 17-14 win at Stanford. They have home field advantage, first conference game of the season. Our offense is newly inputted. I mean, I'm pretty sure that all makes sense. You have the second, right?
Yeah, so going up against Arizona, last season the Huskies blew out Arizona in Arizona. That was like 51-27. Everything was clicking. This year, I don't see us performing quite that well on offense, but with Arizona losing their starting QB, Khalil Tate, their running back, J.J. Taylor, I don't think the Arizona offense will be good enough to really compete with the Husky defense, which is a clear strong point. And it's week 2. I expect the Husky offense to start clicking with the new quarterback. So I'm predicting a 30-13 win for UW over Arizona.
Yeah, I absolutely see that being possible. I mean, I completely agree with that. When you sent me your predictions actually earlier in the week, I looked at all of them and I agreed with and actually noted here, I loved this prediction in all caps for one of the games that's coming up. You'll find out about it. But this was one of the first games. I think I disagreed greatly with your scoreline. I'm not this one, sorry, not the Arizona, but the next one on 3, the Cal game. Just like you said, you thought our offense would be clicking week 2. I absolutely believe by week 3, heading into that bye week, coaches are going to get a little confident. They might try something new. They're going to try different rotations out, work out all these kinks before the long haul. And I took your projected 14-17 down to a 3-14 at California because our offense just dropped the ball that game. Most likely both literally and metaphorically. So I'd love to move past that and head into our fourth game of the season.
Well, I could definitely see that against Cal because UW's kind of actually struggled the last couple times they've played Cal, which is a bit surprising because on paper, UW's usually the better team, but Cal's just had our number. So I guess moving on to the next week, we've got the bye week, but then week 4, we've got Oregon State. Now, Oregon State's usually the bottom of the Pac-12, so I'm thinking the Huskies should be able to pull this out. I mean, OSU's improved under Jonathan Smith, but they've still got a wide talent gap, I feel, between UW and Oregon State. Oregon State's got, I looked at their recruiting class, they had 3 stars. They just had a lot of 3 stars. And 3 stars aren't someone who you can expect to contribute that early on in the season. So week 4, I think the Husky offense gets back on track and gets 27 points. And I feel the Husky defense, I mean, last time they played them, they held them to only 7 points, I believe it was, like 119 total yards and 6 first downs. I think it's more the same with the Husky 27-10 win against Oregon State.
Yeah, I don't see that game playing out any other way without the scoreline maybe dropping or rising a little bit. I don't see us losing that game against Oregon State. I think that's a pretty good shoe-in, and I think we got really lucky having that right after the bye week. Have that week off and go into this game. We're very highly likely to win, and most likely turn that into a win if it had happened. Luckily, though, heading through that bye week into this easy game that is is pretty much a dub at this point. And then heading into the Oregon game, I actually flipped the win-loss around on this one and said that we'd go 34-31 with Oregon. Yes, they have the home field advantage, and yes, they're arguably the current best team in the Pac-12, if not UCLA, and then if not them, us. But with that, I've seen it every year we've played. It's always turning into these like high-scoring games, and the defenses just get absolutely strung out. It heads into the fourth quarter, and I think with this new OC coming in, as well as it being the 5th week of conference play, I see the UW offense just absolutely finding their stride. All of these like tight end rotations, quarterback workouts, the lineman adjustments, all of that's going to get settled down by this Oregon game. I think it goes really high. It goes late into the fourth quarter, and we pull it off with a 34-31 win.
Yeah, I could totally see that happen. I mean, the Oregon UW game seemed to always be these close contested game. Like just last year was 35-31. Oregon just pulled it out at the end. Yeah, I agree with you somewhat there. I would have picked Oregon just because I felt UW might have had a little lull against their first top tier team, you could say. Yeah, the Oregon losing. I'd love to watch that happen.
No, I'm pretty sure they will. You know, they're gonna get punched pretty hard by the Berkeley Bears, or Grizzlies, whatever their mascot is. I mean, they're not UW, so it doesn't really matter. But I mean, yeah, like after that game, when we get punched in the face, I'm hoping that with the new season, you know, everything about it's new. We just kind of pull back, head into this next highly ranked team, and just take over.
Yeah. So moving on, then in week 6, we've got Colorado, and I think this will be one of the tougher games, actually. I mean, especially coming off of that Oregon game. This is at home, luckily. I mean, Jason, the Colorado host, he's really been talking Colorado up. I'm starting to buy into the hype of them a bit, but I still feel that Colorado is just a step beneath UW on their performance for this season. And I feel the Huskies, it'll be a close game, a battle, and part of the reason I'm going with the Huskies is just because it's at home. I mean, playing in front of Husky Stadium, no matter how many people will be there, who knows, with everything. I think the Huskies, in the end, pull it off with a game-winning field goal by Peyton Henry.
Making it a close one.
Yeah, I'm saying with Peyton Henry hits a 41-yard field goal to win 24-21. Just a nail-biter down to the end, and then that'll move us on to the next week, which is going to be a tough one away.
Tough one.
Yeah,
I don't
you're
know.
not thinking tough?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe not any tougher than the Colorado game. This was the game where I said I love your prediction, and I have it noted in all caps. You had it listed, and I am in full compliance and agreement with this prediction here of us going 42-17 at Utah.
I guess it wasn't going to be tough.
Steamrolling them. Yeah, I don't see it. They've been lacking in form. Their offense hasn't been starting anything. Their defense hasn't been stopping anything. They've had a really long break. I think that's the only thing going for any team who came out the end of last season at the bottom of the polls, bottom of the tables. And it's going to be seeing whether or not they can take the time and how well they used it. If they used it better than us, I still think they might lose just because we're that far ahead of them. Yeah. But yeah, outside of that, it's going to be to see how much they can improve, not whether they do or whether they don't. Regardless of what happens, I don't think they get better than us.
Yeah, I think the Huskies really start hitting their stride with everything being new, the new quarterback, new offensive coordinator. And these middle weeks will be kind of peak performance. And then moving in against UCLA, I think it's more the same, 35-17 win. Just UCLA's had under Chip Kelly, who's supposed to be this offensive mastermind, they've had an inconsistent offense. I mean, Dorian Thompson Robinson, their quarterback, he threw for less than 60% completion last year, not accurate, 28 touchdowns to 16 interceptions. I mean, he's poised, based on what I read, I might be wrong, he's poised to be the starter this upcoming year. I mean, they do have Colson Yankoff, the former Husky transfer quarterback, who, you know, maybe if they put in Yankoff, they'd do better against the Huskies, you know, a revenge game. But I still don't see UCLA being able to do anything against this Husky defense. And with UCLA's defense last year, they gave up nearly 35 points per game. I think the Huskies put up 35 exactly and win 35-17 against UCLA.
Yeah, that's really interesting too, because you sent this to me originally with the scoreline of 35-24, and I thought I agreed with that, but I actually like this lower one better.
Yeah, I changed it up. I read a bit more and saw that UCLA actually lost their starting linebackers. So I'm thinking Richard Newton's going to have a field day. I'd go out on a limb and say he's going for 200 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. I think he has a big day, kind of introduces himself to the Pac-12.
Yeah, and then heading out of that game with that win, I think we end up striding into the end of this conference season, and then hopefully into the postseason with like just a really strong mindset, a very clear goal in mind of like where we need to go and how we need to get there. Because of that, I think the game against Wazoo, none of our players overhype it. No one gets overexcited or anxious about the game. Like, we know what our season's been like. We know where we're needing to go. We're really close to getting a really, really high-scoring bowl game. I think it's an easy 21-10 victory over Wazoo when we head over there, even though it's home for them. I think we score our 3 touchdowns. Our defense is good enough to stop them. We pull our starters out, make sure everybody's safe and healthy towards the end of the game, and then move on to the last week.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. Wazoo versus UW. I mean, UW's been kind of dominating in recent years, and I think it's more of the same. But now moving on to week 10. Usually Wazoo's the last game of the year. Now we got USC, and this is a game where I think the Huskies can't pull it off. I think this game though is tough to predict as it's so far away, especially with it being in the spring basically. I mean, it'll be played in April maybe or something. So especially thinking a lot of these seniors and NFL guys might not play as hard in this game as they've made it through a whole 9-game season. They're not hurt. So guys like Levi Onwuzurike, Elijah Molden, Jackson Kirkland on the offensive line, they might even choose not to play in this game. And I think that'll just cause the Husky defense to kind of play flat-footed. And USC's got a very strong returning team. I think I saw somewhere that they lost only 1 or 2 starters from last year. Don't quote me on that, but I think they are mostly a veteran team, and that'll show against the mostly young offensive Husky team. And USC will pull it off at the Coliseum. So that's a place the Huskies haven't always fared too well. I mean, they did win last time they played there, which I think was 2015. But I think they'll lose 34-20 to USC to finish out the year. I mean, who knows if there's going to be even any bowl games. So I think they just don't go out with their best game. And hopefully the next season they start better or they just forget about this game. Move on from it. Yeah,
I mean, USC's would be projected to have a great year. I think they came out second in the conference coming out of last year. So I think you were right. But I will say it is not outside of USC's history to throw really big games. And I would like to quote the Stanford versus USC football game from 2007, where what I believe to be was a backup freshman quarterback for Stanford came in and upset the number one, I think in the Pac-12 for sure, possibly the country, the number 1 ranked USC. And was it a crazy game? Loved every second of it. And speaking of things that are crazy, Nathan, would you please explain to me whether or not us hiring a new OC is one of those crazy things?
So John Donovan, the new offensive coordinator, just a bit of background on him. The last 4 years, he's been an assistant coach for the Jaguars in the NFL. But before that, he's had some experience at offensive coordinator. He was at Vanderbilt from 2011 to 2014, and then Penn State from 2014 to 15 following that. Mm-hmm. And he had mixed success as an offensive coordinator. At Vanderbilt, if I was giving him a grade, I'd give him an A. He created one of the best Vanderbilt offensive for 3 years. They had one of the best offenses ever for them. But then when he went to Penn State, if I was giving him a grade, I'd give him an F. He fell flat on his face there. I believe in 2015, his offense was dead last in a lot of categories. I mean, he was 126 out of 128 teams in their third down conversion, 106th rushing offense, 105th total offense, 103rd completion percentage. So he didn't really rank too high in any offensive categories. And that was with a guy at running back named Saquon Barkley. I just don't see how that's possible for him to perform that poorly coaching. I mean, he's got Saquon. I get it. Saquon was a rookie, or I mean a freshman that year. but he still put up numbers like over 1,000 yards rushing, 5.9 yards a carry. And I just don't quite understand the hire from him being the best guy for the job.
Let's look at this right. I said it earlier in private conversation. I'm saying it again now live. I don't like the decision, but I think it was the right one. Looking out, there was not a very big market for OCs coming out of college ball, or coming out of the NFL even, that we could like have pick or choice from. Like, sure, there were a couple of other choices. I still think John Donovan out of those was the best. And not counting his Penn State career, just looking at what he's done at Maryland with all of his experience, getting like around the offense with being a recruiting coordinator, a running backs coach, a quarterbacks coach. He's had experience all over the place when he was at Maryland, when he started coaching college ball. At Vanderbilt, like as you said, he produced one of the some of the greatest offenses. Sorry, let me get this stat. His offense under him, they earned 3 of the top 4 season high scoring marks in school history, which means accumulating over 4,400 yards each season. And they still hold the school record of that with 4,936 yards in his 2012 season. They're breaking school records all over the place, and then Penn State happens.
Yeah. It's a blemish on his record, I think.
What do we say about Penn State? I mean, it was one of the biggest controversies in like college football history as that thing was unraveling. You have ex-employees from the same season as him tweeting out that it wasn't even his designed offense that they were running. You have David Jones from PennLive.com writing an article saying that he was a scapegoat for a rebuild that would take much longer than fans could accept. Although, of course, Joe Moorhead and Saquon Barkley being there the next season didn't really matter. Didn't really make sense that it was a long time. But I think John Donovan received the short end of the stick. I think his play style, his statistics, his praise from coworkers, especially in the NFL. The Jags OC at the time, Nathaniel Hackett, during their NFC Championship run, he said that, NFC Championship run season, he had said of Donovan that he was instrumental to the Jaguars' red zone plan, which includes a game. And for people who may not know, this is very hard to do. He went 6 for 6 in the red zone in a single game under John Donovan. I mean, he was doing work there. He did great work at Vanderbilt and at Maryland. We don't talk about Penn State.
Yeah.
And I think he was the right hire. Again, I don't like the hire. I think they could have found something better, maybe looked a little longer, looked a little harder, but I think it was the right pick. I think it was the right pick.
I think he can definitely turn out to be a great hire. I mean, he's got that experience. Jimmy Lake, when they hired him at the press conference, he kind of hinted at the Penn State thing, saying how coaches can learn a lot from the NFL, kind of saying that John Donovan's, he's improved, he's learned a lot from the NFL. But then I bring it back to the point of he was on the Jaguars coaching staff. It's not like he was learning from Bill Belichick. He was learning from Doug Marrone, who's not a top tier coach, but still maybe he did learn. And I kind of side with you on the point where he might have been the best hire they could get. Because early on, people were saying, oh, Kellen Moore, the former Boise State QB who played for Chris Peterson, Kellen Moore is going to be the guy. They're going to hire him. But then I look at it like, why would Kellen Moore want to leave the Cowboys? He's going to be the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. He's calling plays. Why would he leave that for a Husky offense that, quite frankly, isn't too appealing to a offensive coordinator with a new quarterback, 3 new offensive linemen, a young running back who's not quite proven, unproven wide receivers? So maybe John Donovan was the best fit, I guess, maybe, and the only guy they could truly get.
Yeah, I think it was also just always going to run pretty well hand in hand with starting quarterbacks leaving, starting defense players leaving, and just this being the time to switch over to a new offensive coordinator. Especially after we had such crazy coaching changes at the end of the 2019 season. Yeah. I don't picture a universe or world where we do better than John Donovan at this time. That's saying nothing to slight the man, as he's like a great coach. I mean, me and you have both done our research. I just don't think we could have picked anyone else. And I think with the time we had and the money we could spare to hire whoever we wanted, this was the best pick we were going to be able to get.
Yeah, I guess that's all we can say for this topic, really. I guess we should probably head on to our next talk about the
Good one.
Yeah, about the counting down to the greatest Husky of all time. Right now we're going to be giving our number 2 picks, and there's just it's really tough to pick, I guess, anyone for these because there's just so many. There's such a wide range of guys you could go with. So this was even tougher than last week's. I mean, we're narrowing it down. We're down to number 2. Do you want to start off, or should I start off with?
You can start off. You can start off.
All right. So I went with Napoleon Kaufman. He was the running back in the early 90s. He was part of the shared national championship with Miami when they were undefeated. I mean, he was part of one of the greatest games in Husky history, the Whammy in Miami. If you don't know what that is, you should probably Google that, because that's when the Huskies took down Miami after they were on a 9-year winning streak. Miami hadn't lost in 9 years, and the Huskies upset them. So back to Napoleon Kaufman. When he left with most of the Husky rushing records. He was the leading rusher for UW. He was the first UW running back to rush for over 4,000 yards in his career. And he was only really the starter for 3 of those years, unlike the guy who passed him, Myles Gaskin, who ended up beating him. But he was the starter for 4 years, basically. So he had more games. And then the accolades that Napoleon Kaufman has are just extensive. He was all Pac-10 team for his 3 years as a starter. He was voted the team MVP in 1993 and 1994. He's got all sorts of accolades, and when you watch him run, like I searched up Napoleon Kaufman college highlights, and I just watched him run. All I could say was wow. This guy he was elusive, yet he was also a guy who could not be taken down with just an arm tackle. And he's not a big guy. Napoleon Kaufman, I think he was about 5'9", 180 pounds, and he ran like he was those 6 foot, 230 pounds, going up against. He would put his head down against anyone. I mean, he could bench press. They said there was a report he bench pressed 400 pounds. This guy was a gym rat, and it showed on the field with his play. You want to introduce your pick? Is a good guy.
I was a running back in high school, and I play rugby now, which means I have intense respect for the big guys, those guys that fight in the trenches, the linemen. And because of that, my number 2 pick, I almost hinted at what my number 1 pick is, but I'm not going to do it. My number 2 pick for this week, for the second greatest Husky player of all time, is Lincoln Kennedy, the O tackle, same era as Napoleon Kaufman, actually.
Teammates, yes.
And almost ironically, or if not perfectly, like this was given to me by some kind of power above. I have the beautiful argument in front of me that if my pick, Lincoln Kennedy, sucked at football as an O lineman, Napoleon Kaufman would have been able to do nothing. And that's my first point. That's my only point. I'll hear your rebuttal. Is just that if my pick sucked, your pick would have been able to do nothing all season.
All right, to counter that point, I'd like to say that's one person on the offensive line. He may have helped him out when I believe he was like a right tackle maybe, or left, one of the tackles. So when he's running that side, yeah, of course Lincoln Kennedy is going to help him out. I mean, Lincoln Kennedy is one of the greatest O linemen in college football, one of the greatest Huskies. So of course that helped Napoleon Kaufman. But Napoleon Kaufman didn't just run to that side. He ran up the middle. He ran outside the other end. So Lincoln Kennedy did not make Napoleon Kaufman.
You ready for this, Nathan?
Yeah, I'm ready to hear what you have to say.
All right, cool. So let's just do like crazy statistics, awards that Lincoln Kennedy's grabbed. Scratch that. Let's start with his stature. The man's 6'6" and over 330 pounds.
He's a big boy.
In college. Oh my God, the man's huge.
Especially for that era, he was.
Yeah, that's crazy. He was 2-time winner of the Morris Trophy, which just meant best lineman in the conference. He won that back-to-back years. He was consensus All-American 92. He was College Football Hall of Fame by 2015. He won the Jim Parker Trophy the same season he got consensus All-American, which is the nation's most outstanding lineman in every league. Napoleon Kaufman season is just not possible without Kennedy. And to your point that a single lineman is not the difference maker, I would just love to run through very quickly, not quickly, this is a lot. There's a lot of teams I pulled from here, about O-line versus skill players. First off, we have the 90s Broncos. Terrell Davis then earned an average of over 4 yards a carry in his first 4 seasons because of that line. That line also gave Elway time to carry them to back-to-back Super Bowl victories. That's just the 90s Broncos. We still have the 70s Cardinals, the 80s Redskins, the 70s Steelers, with Mike Webster leading the charge for running backs, Franco Harris, and Rocky Blair, and keeping Terry Bradshaw safe during their 4 Super Bowl dubs over 6 years. This is the O-lineman again. And then we have the 50s Browns, the 60 Packers, which doesn't really count because they won the first 2 Super Bowls. That team's great. Go Packers. We have the 90s Cowboys. We have the 70s Raiders. I can just keep going on and on about O-lines that carry their team to victory.
Yeah, you could go on and on, but if you look at it, actually, Lincoln Kennedy and Napoleon Kaufman, he wasn't there Napoleon Kaufman's whole career. He wasn't actually on UW's team Napoleon's best years, because I believe Lincoln Kennedy was there from, correct me if I'm wrong, 1989 to 1992. Is that Lincoln Kennedy's 3 years he was really the starter?
That's a great question.
I'm pretty sure it was, so you could correct me later on if I'm wrong. But Napoleon Kaufman's better years were his junior and senior year, where he did win that team MVP. And he might not have been first team All-American. He was second team All-American and then third team All-American his junior year. He, in those junior and senior years, he averaged 5.7 yards a carry and 5.5 yards a carry. Those were truly his best years. And that's without that guy who, your first argument was Lincoln Kennedy basically made Napoleon Kaufman a great running back.
He literally set the foundation for this man to not only inherit a great in-season O-line that got to study and gather like tutelage under him.
Well, now you're changing it. You're saying that Lincoln Kennedy...
Whoa. No. I said Lincoln Kennedy has set this man up for success, whether it be the shared season, which they didn't have, or the seasons coming after, where Lincoln Kennedy literally set up such a prestigious O-line.
So you're thinking Lincoln Kennedy just made this O-line at UW.
Sat there in the UW locker room at the greatest setting on earth, our stadium, and crafted him from clay, stuck him on the field, and said, "Run, I'll block for you," and it's great. That's what he set up for the man.
But I don't see how one player, no matter how great Lincoln Kennedy was and is, he's not the reason for Napoleon Kaufman's success. Napoleon Kaufman's success came from just his pure talent and skill and his determination he played with when he was out there on the football field.
Then why haven't I heard about him before today?
Well, I don't know. You must not be a true Husky fan.
I heard about Lincoln Kennedy. And I'm a running back. What does that say?
Well, you must not have done your research.
Oh, I did my research, sir. I have 3.5 pages of text here telling me why O-linemen are better than running backs.
I'm not arguing O-linemen aren't better.
And this O-lineman is better than your running back.
Well,
Lincoln Kennedy is just a superior. Even let's just bare bones minimum, just boxing ring, nothing on. These 2 guys are just sitting there, right?
Now you're setting them up to box.
It doesn't matter. No matter what the situation you put them together in is, Lincoln Kennedy comes out on top just because of physicality.
Well,
stature alone, the man wins.
Well, you're putting him one-on. This is a 5'9", 180-pound running back going up against what'd you say, 6'6",
330-pound tackle. That's correct.
Of course, the O-lineman's going to win on some one-on-one bare knuckle boxing, but we're talking about
one-on-one in the hole. Who wins, a D lineman or a running back?
A running back could win, or a D lineman.
D lineman wins. Same skill level. D lineman wins.
You've never seen a running back run right through?
Have you seen Rudy?
I've never actually seen that movie. I've heard of it.
Oh my gosh, we got to end this episode. I think you have some homework to do. Everybody, thank you so much for coming. I want to thank everyone for showing up once again. It's really, really, really appreciated. Again, I'm Joseph Claypoole, and this is Nathan Mathisen, who needs to go watch a very popular movie after this episode. You can follow the both of us on different social medias with our @s that are on screen, and you can follow Dashboards on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Dashboards TV. Excuse me. Don't forget to catch the best clips from today's episode at dashboards.tv, the website, along with clips, streaming schedules, and full episodes from every other school in the Pac-12, including ours. Thank you all, and have a great rest of your day. This is Husky Dash, signing off.